can you tell me a little bit about who Corient is and what you stand for?
Sure. So Corient is one of the largest ultra high net worth and high net worth focused multifamily offices in the country. We're pretty interesting in that we are a fairly new brand to a lot of you here, as the brand Corient didn't exist until 2 years ago. But we are made up of a group of practitioners throughout the country with deep, deep expertise and specialization that's been built over decades in smaller firms throughout the country. So we've rebranded over the past couple of years and really have a firm that provides deep, deep and broad services to the clients that we're serving.
What are your typical clients like?
So for me, as they mentioned, I run the entertainment group at Corient. So my clients are all in various aspects of the entertainment world. So we work with actors and writers, directors, producers, songwriters, label executives, et cetera. And what we find is it's the specialization that we offer, the understanding of the ways that our clients earn money, the way that they need to structure the things the ways in which they operate, the way that we need to plan for inconsistencies in income and liquidity events along the way. There's a lot of pattern recognition there that's involved that allows us to have that deep specialization and expertise.
So to unpack some of that, you talked about liquidity, right, mm-hmm. which oftentimes is the main focus when it comes to the investment strategy. But it sounds like that's just half solution. Can you talk a little bit about the fuller sort of holistic picture?
Yeah, it's an excellent point. It's really just a portion of what we're talking about. A lot of times people think they're going to talk to a financial advisor and they're going to talk about, okay, this is my investment portfolio and how much should be in stocks and how much should be in bonds and how much should I be saving for my retirement. That's a small piece of what we're thinking about it. You know, when we're thinking about this space, when we're working with a young songwriter or a new touring artist, we're thinking about, okay, how do you own these assets? What is the path that you're on? Where is the wealth being built? How do we need to plan for that 10 years down the road in the future? And so the investment, the stocks and bonds and those nuts and bolts are a component of what we're doing, but we're really thinking much, much broader than that in terms of, because some of those decisions that we make about those things I just talked about can really, really make the biggest difference over time in the wealth outcomes for these clients.
Yeah. And so typically when you think about entertainment clients, you've got several players, right? As mm-hmm. part of their team, you've got the sort of the agent, the attorney, and business manager. How do you fit in within that team?
It's an excellent question. I say a lot to our clients that we're really building an outsourced family office for them. So we are in heavy, heavy collaboration with that team. When we start to work with a new client, we want to understand, okay, who is this team? Very, very often it's including the business manager, it's including our team, some combination of attorneys, whether it be that entertainment attorney, the trust and estate attorney. There's special teams that we work with, some of them in this room today, around venture opportunities and investment opportunities specific to the talent client base. So who's on that team? How are we working together? And we need to make sure that we are operating as a unit so that when advice is coming to that client, it's been they know that that advice is coming, having been vetted from a tax perspective, from an investment perspective, from a legal perspective, from a brand perspective. So it's really an intensely collaborative effort. And I think our business, our team has really built over the years a practice that really is quite good at that collaborative effort.
Right. And given the sort of tenure, and you mentioned this in your video, and you mentioned just now, this notion of pattern recognition when it comes to your clients. So can you tell me a little bit about what that means?
Yeah, sure. So when we chatted last week, we were talking about this. I said, let me tell you about the 2 calls I just got off today. So I had been on a call with a brand new client we're just starting to work with. He's been really successful early writing songs. He's building a catalog value. He's just starting to get on the road touring. And then my call immediately following that was pre-transaction planning for a 9-figure catalog sale for an artist that's been at it for 15 years, right? So the understanding, even when we're working with this artist that's just getting started, about what's likely headed in his direction, given the trajectory he's on, is really valuable to the advice we're providing early. So that pattern recognition is really, really helpful.
And then when you think about that across sort of the other end of the spectrum, right, the 9-figure catalog deal. How are you sort of balancing that?
In terms of how we're...
Yeah, you've got two very extreme ends of the spectrum there, right? So like, do you have, I mean, this goes back to a little bit of your specialization, right? So can you tell us a little bit about the different types of specialties that you have within that?
Yeah. So in terms of the the early stage and the new artists and the earlier sort of in the life cycle, we're really getting them set up with a really, really good foundation, making sure that team is tight, making sure we're checking the boxes about the different structures we want to have in place, making sure those allocations are right, and making sure that we get that communication established and get it going. And then as the career progresses and as we need to really get more involved towards the asset sale and the transaction planning, et cetera, the team gets a little bit larger. There's a lot more modeling that goes on, a lot more members of the team that are getting involved in that aspect. So the team gets bigger and has more specialization to it, but it's that foundation we've built early that's really, really helpful and helps that. I mean, I can't overstress the communication aspect of it. That's really, really important. Yeah.
Great. So if there's one thing here that we want, or you want people to take away about Corient, what would that be?
I think it's specialization and scale. We have and need, I think, this is a common theme with some of the other folks that have been on this stage over the past couple of days. Scale and depth of resources is really, really important to outcomes here, and we've got that with Corient. Our size and the breadth of capabilities that we're able to offer clients is really first class, but the specialization and the boutique feel that's very, very client-specific on the way in is really important, and I think it's really where we differentiate ourselves.